That doesn't happen very often. Okay. We have about 2 minutes left. Okay. I guess you could have offered lottery tickets. We'll wait about 2 minutes and then we'll get going. Okay, Ellie, did you want to put up the side panels? Oh, wonderful. Okay, well, let's begin. We have a couple of folks who have some other commitments that they're going to get to shortly. First of all, my name is Meryl McBride, and I have the pleasure of serving not only as your host today, but as a presenter. I'm a professor of geography, recently retired at Colorado State University, and formerly a professor of geography and senior academic administrator at the University of New Orleans. I want to welcome you to this edition of our VWEC Expert Series, in which we ask educational professionals to share their experiences and their insights into ways that virtual worlds can be used to engage students. Before I continue, let me apologize in advance. I was on international travel a couple of weeks ago. I came back with a sinus infection. They let me re-enter the country anyway, and so I'm still choking up a little bit on occasion. I hope that doesn't interfere with our presentation. I wish briefly to introduce you to the new VWEC sponsored magazine called the Avatar Scholar. I will discuss its mission and format, which will be followed by brief comments from contributors to the fall 2024 edition. Contributors who are present at the front today include a cup of tea, or Dr. John O'Connor, Technological University of Dublin; Max Chattenwire, Dr. Marianne Clark, Texas Wesleyan University, retired; Marie Vans, Dr. Marie Vans, Colorado State University; Gentle Heron, or Alice Kruger, Virtual Ability; and Tom Bukowski, or Dr. Tom Belsdorf, University of California, Irvine. Willow Star, or Dr. Jennifer Vandiver, could not be with us today. Also, at this point, let me make a couple of other announcements. For those who are new, our website is www.vwec or vwecconsortium.org, vwecconsortium.org. We are pleased to offer our expert series presentations in both text and chat. Text for anyone who may not be using voice is shared on our YouTube live stream. You can find this in the sign in front of our stage. Speaking of signs, we would like to know how you find out about our events. A survey plant has just a quick survey that is a great help to us. If you would please fill it out and feel free to send along any comments that you have. Let me begin by thanking everyone for joining us. When I first became active in VWEC, I was given the task of writing material that could be sent to universities and private entities to alert them to the educational possibilities of virtual worlds. I wrote a couple examples of boilerplate that remained largely unused and decided that I should look for a different strategy. Now, I'm a graduate of 3 universities and have been a professor at 2 other universities. From each, I receive glossy alumni magazines celebrating the opportunities and accomplishments of their respective institutions. The aim, of course, is not just to brag about the school, but to encourage donations from alumni. For some reason, I've been drawn to each one of these. They are colorful, easy to read, and informative, though I confess that they have not yet elicited any donations from me. Maybe later. Well, I thought, what if VWEC could produce a similar type of document that we could distribute to online education directors and other administrators at various colleges and universities? Would it catch their attention like the alumni magazine? Would they read it without dismissing it as lightweight and unserious? I raised the possibility with VWEC, and they agreed to support a first attempt. Somehow, it did not occur to me that I would end up as the managing editor of that first attempt. But oh well. we were able to assemble a standout team of scholars and professionals to put together the magazine that is on display today. The process took more time than we expected, but by Christmas we were ready to distribute the magazine. Okay, let's try going the other way. Yes. Please see the statement of purpose and objectives on the screen. The purpose of this publication is to showcase the potential of metaverse-based teaching for higher education. The goal is to provide a platform that will open doors to faculty members and administrators who may heretofore have been uninterested in and or uninformed about the educational promise of social virtual worlds. Pursuant to this purpose and goal, we proposed operational objectives that focused on creating a publication that, first, is visually appealing and accessible, that creates pop, as my students might say. We have only a few seconds to ignite the curiosity and interest of the reader. As a former administrator, I remember how reflexive it was for me simply to pass much of what came across my desk onto the circular file next to the desk without a second thought, unless it caught my attention. We want to catch people's attention. Second, we wanted to create a publication that provides visual cognates that make metaverse education look normal and sensible. I can't think of a faster path to that circular file than staring at a document that looks too cartoonish or too futuristic or whatever, but mainly in the eyes of the reader, too unserious about a serious subject, education. This may be an unfair characterization of people's thinking, but I believe that it is a safe starting point. And third, wanted to create a publication that is based in Second Life, but provides a platform for discussion of multiple social virtual worlds. Second Life still represents the gold standard for social virtual worlds and pedagogical places, though other spaces offer considerable potential. We do not have a specific distribution at this point, distribution network at this point. That is a project that will take time to complete. We have a magazine giver in the room today. Look toward the front. Please help yourself to any of the documents, particularly documents that you could use to spread the word in RL. Send the magazine to friends, family, colleagues. Use them as party favors, whatever. Doing so is an efficient way to start the distribution process. At this point, permit me to take you through the first edition. If you would please, hold your questions until the end. Along the way, I will describe the sections and introduce you to the contributors who will say a little bit about their contributions. We start, of course, with the table of contents. Notice that the magazine is comprised of feature articles of 12 to 1,500 words each, placed amidst a series of spotlights, perhaps 800 words, and helpful tips for educators and opinion pieces. On this page, we also highlight the work of photography coordinator Barbara Colasso and the layout coordinator Chandra Lavendale, or Dr. Leah Hardesty. They provided the pop that I referred to above that should interrupt the usually inevitable path to the circular file. The next page, the editor's corner, includes comments by the managing editor that provide a summary statement about the purpose of the publication and what lies ahead for the reader. You'll also notice an invitation to join the movement, so to speak, in the direction of virtual world-based education. My contact information is provided with encouragement to use it, along with information for Ellie and Val. In the future, we want to be more specific about how people can participate in the movement. The next 2 pages around the metaverse are intended to sort of validate or legitimize the value of virtual worlds education by showing a representative number of accredited colleges and universities that have a connection to Second Life, generally through the work of a specific faculty member or several faculty members. The named institutions represent only a small percentage of colleges and universities that could be shown. The University of Texas system, for example, once supported several tens of SIMs. The intention is to make the reader, the administrator, whoever, feel that his or her institution would be joining great company. We also wanted to include institutions that in themselves may not have an accredited status, but play a useful role as part of a larger higher education ecosystem. Most large universities are associated with various private entities, both profit and nonprofit, that support the university. Think, for example, about who and what populate the typical university research park. At this point, let's move forward to the specific contributions. We asked writers to provide accessible narratives, and in the case of the longer articles, to include additional reading in support of their work and for follow-up by interested readers. For our purposes today, we asked the writers to summarize and or comment on the points that they made in their first articles and for use in the spotlights. Nothing fancy, just a few words, maybe only a stream of consciousness. Now, in the interest of time for Gentle, I'm going to skip over to Gentle Heron's presentation. I just missed it. There we go. She needs to slip away here in just a moment. So I thought we could hear what she has to say first. By the way, each spotlight is actually an interview with the person involved in the virtual world education process, which accounts for the editor on the signature line. So Gentle, it's all yours. Stand up and tell us what you would like to say.
I'm very unused to standing, so hello everybody. Since my retirement, my contribution to education has been definitely very niche. I advocate for accessibility, and that's my contribution to this excellent first volume of a journal that I have already recommended to some educators thinking of working in Second Life. As a thank you present to all who are the hardworking educators, my friends here in Second Life, and to those who are wondering about joining us here, I'd like to offer a link that is going into the Second Life Wiki. And there it is. You can click it and see it. I hope you find it useful. Please send me any suggestions, questions, concerns that you have about that information. Thank you. I apologize for hurrying off, but my driver is eager to get going. Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much, Gentle. It's really special having you here, and I know that you made a special effort to be here. Let me turn back to the first article. From Zombies to Avatars by Clipate, though we all call him John O'Connor. John, anything with the word zombie in the title surely should draw attention. What were you trying to say?
What was I trying to say, indeed? Well, I have to credit you, I think, Meryl, with the headline. I didn't come up with that one. So credit where credit is due. I also have to credit ChatGPT with the summary of my article that I'm going to give you now in a moment. So in the interests of absolute transparency and credibility, let me start with that. But I was delighted to be asked to contribute to the first edition of this new publication, which I think is a great idea, and I'm delighted to be involved with it. So let me start with my summary. So the COVID-19 pandemic and subsequent lockdowns led to a rapid shift in our approach to education. It forced both teachers and students to move online with little warning or preparation. Video conferencing tools like Zoom, Skype, and Microsoft Teams became the default tools for teaching. But over time, issues such as student disengagement, reluctance to use their cameras, and difficulties in maintaining attention emerged. Additionally, teachers lacked experience in designing effective online content, and they were further hampered by the fact that there was very little guidance available for them to consult. However, alternative digital environments like virtual worlds such as Second Life and virtual reality proved to be much more engaging. Students found platforms like Second Life more immersive and interactive than video-based learning, as they provided a classroom-like experience through avatars and collaborative spaces. My own undergrads reported a preference for their class in Second Life over their Zoom classes. And VR tools such as the Oculus Quest and Spatial I/O that I used with master's students also offered a deeper sense of presence and connection, addressing issues of isolation and passive learning associated with video conferencing. Despite the advantages of virtual environments over traditional video platforms, effective implementation requires teacher training, curriculum adaptation, and proper preparation to maximize their benefits in education. And this is something that we really need to begin to address now if we want to avoid zombie students in the future. So that's me done. Thanks, Meryl.
Thank you, John. And thank you, Professor AI. I couldn't help it, John. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
We turn our attention next to the spotlight by Max Chatnoir on teaching genetics in the virtual world. Max, you're on. Hello, Max.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Okay, good. All right. Genome is a sort of virtual laboratory environment that I built for teaching genetics. The advantage of using Second Life for scientific stuff is that you can get data very quickly to test hypotheses with instead of waiting for weeks or months. I mean, even fruit flies take a couple of weeks. So it's much nicer just to be able to get practically instantaneously a lot of data very, very quickly. And so there are several regions on genome. One of them is transmission genetics, just inheritance patterns as they were first described by Mendel. And there's additional stuff on inheritance patterns that Mendel did not discover himself, which lets students see more interesting things like sex linkage and so forth. There is a region with 20 floors called the Tower, which focuses mostly on molecular genetics and DNA structure and function and genetic coding and gene and chromosome structure, comparative genomics, things like that. In other words, you can take a human chromosome, for example, and compare its structure to that of the same kind of information as it's found in other species. So there are also a number of genome galleries that discuss the sequenced genome for a bunch of prokaryotes, so bacteria and things, and eukaryotes, which are organisms that have nuclei. There are also multiple areas that can be used for office hours or for discussion. I usually start my orientation sessions in Merrill's Abbey, which has a table that will hold between 4 and 40 people. I've never had to run it through the walls, so it seems to be big enough. There are also several smaller areas, all of which are out of chat range with one another, so they can be used simultaneously, although they usually are not. So I taught a non-majors class in genome for 14 years. The students, most of the students, I don't say all the students liked it because a lot of people did not like having to learn how to use Second Life, but most of the students in it did enjoy it and really seemed to like it. So I think that's about all I have to say, unless somebody has any questions.
Well, thank you very much, Max. And we look forward to any questions at the end of the session.
Okay, great.
From genetics, we turn to a specific disciplinary application of augmented, mixed, and virtual reality. In this case, focusing on systems engineering. We will ask the author, Marie Vance, to help us here.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Very well, thank you.
Yeah. So this article is actually about the program that I'm using for the classes that I teach, and I'm actually teaching a version of the class for Colorado State University Systems Engineering Department, but also for San Jose State University iSchool this semester as well. And so it's been really interesting because I've kind of had to change it up a little bit between them, because in one case it's mid-career librarians and in the other case it's mid-career engineers. So in some of the things I have to do are I have to make sure that they can move around in these spaces. So it's one of the reasons I don't actually use Second Life. What I do is I just, in general, is for the first 6 to 8 weeks of the course, the second half of the class, we go to a different platform and check it out. We have a list of criteria that we're looking for that specific to educators, and the goal is to have them finish up the semester by creating an educational experience of their own. And I really love it because I end up I end up learning so much by the end of the semester because every student picks something that's they're passionate about and I know nothing about. And so at the end of the semester they pick, or at in the about the middle of the semester, they pick one of the platforms, so spatial or frame or VR chat. What's another one? I take them to space, science space, but nobody's ever chosen science space. And I take them to a new platform called Equimake, and I do have a student who's going to be doing it on Equimake this semester. And then they have to decide, they have to do a design of the educational experience that they're going to do, and then they have to implement it. And at the end of the semester, they have to we all as a class jump into their experience that they've built, and they have to give a presentation on the what they've done, and then they have to give us a tour. And again, like the most interesting thing for me is that I get to learn about things like um, I'm trying to think. This semester, I've got somebody doing stuff on construction management. I have another one doing stuff on homelessness in California. So that it's the projects themselves are just all over the map, and I always end up learning so much about it. And the other nice thing is that many of my students take these spaces that they have built, and at the end of the class they run experiments and do actual journal articles and conference presentations, doing studies with these spaces. So so I feel like the the it's working for me, and I'm getting a lot of students excited about these spaces. And again, recall that most of these students of mine are mid-career, so they're not yet the younger crowd. Yep, and I think that's it.
Well, thank you, Marie. This sounds fascinating. And she also has an office in the CSU Sim. All right. Willow Star, Jennifer Vandiver cannot be with us today. She wrote a spotlight on virtual worlds as educational tools, and she shared the results of her doctoral research with the magazine through this little spot. Her doctoral results indicated the value of Second Life as a teaching modality. That's always good for us to hear. Especially helpful to our readers are her insights about how Second Life is not necessarily a replacement for other teaching modalities, but a complement. And I think that's sort of a fear that some people have, that they come into Second Life, that's the only place they can be. And her research indicates, no, that's not the only place you can be. On the next page, we have some informational links that we provide readers who want to learn more and how to engage a platform like Second Life. We want to do this with each issue, and won't necessarily have the same information, but we'll have helpful contact information for people who are really interested in what we're doing. Finally, Tom Bukowski, or Tom Belsdorf, as he is known to the rest of us, wrote an engaging opinion piece about the value of the metaverse to education. I will ask him to share his insights about what he was trying to communicate.
Sure. Thank you so much for this whole project. I mean, for inviting us today, but for this whole project, it's really an honor and to have been able to participate and to hear everyone talk today. And you know, in the short piece I wrote and listening to the to everyone's talks today, I think for many of us, there's this excitement, but also frustration about the untapped potential of virtual worlds for education. You know, I published Coming of Age in Second Life almost 20 years ago, 17 years ago. And I've done a lot of educational projects in Second Life, but virtual worlds in general have an incredible potential for education that we've just barely scratched the surface. And often we're sort of scrambling, I think, for answers about why haven't we had even more success with virtual worlds. Is it and there's many potential factors, but one I mentioned in my article is a lack of institutional support. That during COVID, Canvas, our web platform, and Zoom and things like that, there were workshops for faculty, workshops for students, a lot of technical support. And with virtual worlds, most educators are left to their own devices and have to train students in addition to themselves or get them onboarded. And that can be a real challenge. And it's so unfortunate because the incredible educational things I've seen people do in virtual worlds, including Second Life, blows me away. And I've had incredible experiences over the years. And we don't speak of Second Life fatigue like we talk about Zoom fatigue, right? Because you don't have the camera on your face. You don't have the issue of turning the camera off. You have the shared virtual environment. You have this incredible potential for doing something that in many ways can get to sort of the strong parts of physical world education, but do it in completely new ways, like going inside of a model of the inner ear, like someone was saying, as well as connecting people globally and all of the other things that the internet can do more broadly. So I'm at this stage of my career sort of returning to virtual worlds in the metaverse as a research topic and thinking about what they can do to help combat climate change. And the role of education is simply fundamental. And I am so thrilled that you have created the Avatar Scholar, and I want to see 100 more issues of this and more events happening, because this is an incredible community, incredibly creative, and it really can change the world of education. And I really want it to have an even bigger impact than it has. So congratulations once again to you, Meryl, and to everyone, because as an editor myself, I edited the flagship journal of American anthropology for 5 years. And I also run a book series at Princeton. I co-edit the Princeton series in culture and technology. I know how much work an editor can be, getting all the submissions in and getting everything laid out and produced. And hats off to you for all of the work and passion that you and all of the contributors put to making this happen. It was really impressive, and I'm so thrilled and honored to be a part of it.
Thank you very much, Tom. We were honored to have you as a part of the team. 100 more editions, really? Okay, we'll think about it. I want to give a hearty thank you to all of our contributors. We could not have found a better group of contributors for the first edition. You really knocked it out of the park, y'all. And there'll be a salary increase in the mail. So, what lies ahead? I just read your comment, Tom. Maybe not 100. Yeah, maybe not. Okay, what lies ahead? Where are we? We have an office. The magazine has a small office below the information area over not too far from where we are right now. You can go downstairs and see it. The magazine is open to the public. Come in, free coffee, whatever you want. In terms of timing, we are looking at twice a year, maybe a greater frequency down the road. We hope to begin the process in March with a summer publication date. In terms of content, we will modify the selection process for contributors, making it more inclusive in terms of the vast reservoir of educational knowledge and experience present regarding virtual worlds. For the first edition, we did a lot of tapping on shoulders. And once again, my thanks to all of you whose shoulders were tapped and responded. Tapping on shoulders of people that had the type of message that we were looking for, give the magazine's purpose. We will be looking for a more systematic selection process going forward. We do not currently plan to adhere to a typical academic journal's double-blind referee process, but we still want academic content, scholarly content in the contributions. And here are some questions for the audience. Are there other types of articles or other features that you think would be appropriate and helpful? And that is a point where you should feel free to write in text. You can use voice if you want. As people who are part of the educational experience out there, we need to hear what is on your mind. And we have Lisanna, we have Liz talking about, love to hear the students' voices here too. You're not the first to bring this up. We've had some other people make the same recommendation, and I think that's a wonderful recommendation. Oh, I didn't see. Let's see it. Oh, like the 100 editions, students could help, but integrating their voice as part of the interaction between the scholar and the learner. All the student challenge could be a space for it and to integrate reflection. Yes, okay, I'm sorry. Let's see, I missed your post. It's a great way to start building a publication record. Yes, actually it is. Uh-huh. Are there other ideas? Other comments? And I hope that everybody will feel free to contact me or contact members of VWEC about ideas that we can take into consideration. Okay, yeah.
If I can jump in, Meryl.
Yes, John, please.
I think actually just echoing what Lucia and Liz were saying, I think getting the student voice in would be great in the next edition perhaps, or the following one. And I think maybe a feature around the student challenge would be a great idea. And I think maybe a feature around the student challenge. So maybe if we had a reflection from a student and a reflection from some of the instructors and the organizers of the student challenge, and not forgetting the purpose of the Avatar Scholar, which is largely to reassure university administrators that that Second Life is a serious educational tool, both the student challenge itself and our interviews indeed with the student challenge students. But I think hearing the direct student voice is great for administrators also.
We could actually interview some of these students, couldn't we? And so we'd have multiple voices reflected.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
I think the student challenge is such a big, it's become such a big, important part of the semester for those of us who are involved in it anyway. I think it's well worth highlighting it. And also it's a way of getting more people involved for the future.
Yes, very important. And then Lucia also said that, like the publication record and facilities, the publication record and facilitates examples to challenge students and scholars. Agreed. Tagline: an editorial page would be interesting for short commentaries in the magazine, rather like the New England Journal of Medicine. Oh yeah, we're rapidly approaching their status. New England Journal of Medicine does, in featuring some letters. Great idea. Great idea. Yeah, VWEC has tried to do outreach beyond Second Life. Is your hope that future issues will not be as Second Life heavy? Well, the whole purpose is to talk about virtual worlds in general. If there is something that could be included that deals with a virtual world outside of Second Life, sure, we'll take a look at it. Marie interviews the SL Challenge student participants. Yeah, that's sort of what I was alluding to just a moment ago, Marie. I think that would be really interesting. Max, the student challenge would make a great issue. Okay, now I'm down to only 99 ideas. Ellie, agree. Administrators want to hear from students. Yes, they do. They do. As a former administrator, you might find it interesting that pieces I got, documents that I got from students, did not as routinely go into the circular file as stuff I got from other faculty. I'm speaking out of school here when I say that. Tagline, Marie. My article wasn't at all about SL, the use of virtual worlds for education. That is correct. Interesting to include responses of administrators who might respond to a questionnaire in an issue. Yeah. I gotta get them to open up the issue first. Creatia, okay, good to know. I administer the info center in Kitely and have a poster up for it. We can see how it evolves. John, I included VR classes with Oculus and Spatial. Val, an article about VR exploders, sharing the variety of platforms of evolving in the metaverse, might show that educators can't be everywhere but can be aware together. Oh, I like that. It would be great to have an article about education in Kitely. Agreed. To Marie, you sounded like the exception, not the rule. Why I phrased as I did. As I said, I am promoting Kitely at the moment. And Kitely as an open sim hub. Yeah, we didn't go very far beyond our SL comfort space for the first edition. But we're more than interested in exploring other areas for publication. We see again a section that fosters creativity, different ways to communicate that are not limited to an article, images, sound. Yeah, that may take a few issues to get to that point. Wow, good idea, Meryl. It would have been confusing to tell about all the worlds. All right, this is great. These are wonderful ideas, exactly what we were looking for as response by the audience. We do have one other question that I want to pose, and this is more general in a sense, and I apologize for my voice. This time it's my physical RL voice that's starting to fade on me a little bit. Can you think of other ways in which we can reach out to the target market of this magazine? In other words, how can we get university decision makers more informed about and enthusiastic for the educational role of virtual worlds? And I have no idea. the best way to do it is say, I have a project, it's worth $500,000, and the institution will get its overhead, and you can claim it as yours. We'll get a response from administrator every time we say something like that. But maybe you have some better ideas. When I was at the University of New Orleans in the provost office, I had the advantage in that I could push through some virtual world ideas and projects that came along, and not worry about trying to convince other administrators. Although, having said that, I had my share of presidents and provosts and others who were really quite skeptical about the whole idea. Okay, Dex says that Academia Electronica, the educational project that I participate in, started in Second Life, but we also spread to AltSpace VR. Then when closed, we tried VR chat, but soon we discovered spatial. Currently, most of the activities are in spatial. You can ask Meryl about spatial. I've seen her present it to me in spatial. So many venues, so little time. Isn't that so true, tagline? Any other ideas how you would like to persuade administrators to see the light, to join the movement? Okay, well, just a few more words.
Just on that,
and then we'll
Meryl,
go ahead.
sorry, maybe we should be thinking about interviewing an administrator who has come over to our side. So somebody who's in administration to talk about how they were convinced that Second Life was worth supporting.
Is that excluding you and me, or including you and me?
Yeah, excluding you and me. It'd be great if we could get skeptical initially and was convinced.
There's nothing better.
I was going to suggest instead of setting up a Zoom call, set up a frame call, or set up a spatial call, or whatever. It's something that's really easy they can get to on the web, and actually show them what can be done in these spaces.
Well, I think that's a great idea. I'm to the point, I'm willing to try anything. And all it takes is that spark. And yeah, now that SL has the web client, that may be doable here. Agreed. Needs to be very easy. That's right. And the higher up in the administration, the easier it has to be. Okay, well, we're about to run out of time. No vampires. No. They see their own form of vampires when they go to Board of Regents meetings and the like. Let me thank everybody for joining us today. A hearty thank you once again to everyone who made this moment possible. The slides of today's presentation should be available by means of the large sign on the wall behind us, or behind you. You're invited to gather informally on the deck at the back of the venue to ask additional questions or to offer comments. Please note that the next installment of VWEC Expert Series will be on Friday, March 14, 1 o'clock, SLT, and will feature immersivism, new developments in virtual art. Finally, you can find links to our in-world calendar and related helpful information information that we will provide for you. And we can be reached through a variety of media. Once again, please note all the information that's posted about how we can be reached. So thank you everybody for joining us today. A special thanks to our contributors, and please join us at the back if you have additional comments or questions. We would love to hear what you have to say. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
Meryl, I'll add that we have examples. We have the magazine at the